people are scared of you. I mean, look at your face. Who'd you get in a fight with? A fable, right?
It's strange to think, Simon, that Telltale as a studio was so little known that I must admit even I'd only kind of vaguely heard of them and were aware of what they'd done before The Walking Dead came out.
Yeah, well, what had they done?
Sam and Max games, Back to the Future, a couple of Monkey Island. I mean, they've been around for a long time and they've always done quality stuff. I mean, some of the Sam and Max games are very old now and they're meant to be great. But Walking Dead has been their kind of big break. It made a lot of money. It's been very popular and it's been incredibly well received by critics like ourselves.
Yeah, well, I love Walking Dead. I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, you really loved it. Season 2 starts rumored to be on the 17th, so in a week. So you've got a week.
I know.
to
I'm
finish
really worried. I need to finish it.
I've actually got to play.
What am I going to do?
Well, I've got to play through it again because I uninstalled it from my iPad and I've lost my save data. But the thing is, because I played on iPad, it's not going to come out then on the 17th, so I've got a bit more time. I bought myself a little bit of time just because of the platform. But anyway, Telltale have kind of now come out with their follow project to The Walking Dead, which has been quite hyped, more so than any other their previous efforts. And it's called The Wolf Among Us, and it's based on a series of graphic novels called Fables, which essentially follow the stories of various fairy tale characters who now reside in New York City in a kind of almost like it's set in New York, their world, but it's almost kind of slightly removed from it, almost magically hidden from the real New York. And it's known as Fabletown. And most of these kind of fairy tale characters live in this big apartment building, and they kind of all self-govern each other, and they've got a mayor and all that. And I've not really heard of these Fable books before, Simon, but I'm under the impression that they're very, very well, kind of, again, are very well received by critics and very lauded as graphic novels. I've actually got the first volume of them downloaded on my Kindle as we speak, having played this game. But The Wolf Among Us essentially is set in this kind of graphic novel universe which merges fairy tales with film noir, and this is a great game. In fact, if this game continues how it is in this first episode, this might easily be better. This might comfortably better The Walking Dead.
Really?
Yeah, it's so fucking good. I mean, just right off the bat, from a technical aspect, it builds on and expands on the technology that was used in The Walking Dead. So straight away, it looks better. The character models are more detailed. The graphics are sharper. It just looks more impressive. Because it's set in New York, the settings are far busier, far more full of life, rather than these kind of deserted areas of wasteland filled with occasional shambling corpse. These are it's New York City. It's full of people, full of characters of various shapes and sizes, and it just looks very vibrant. So, from a technical standpoint, just from a graphical standpoint, it looks far better, gorgeous. The gameplay itself expands upon The Walking Dead. Now, The Walking Dead was great because of its story, but if there was anything you could criticize it for, it was that it didn't really feel like much of a game. The action sequences were fairly tacked on, and there wasn't a lot of puzzle solving, whereas the puzzle solving hasn't really been amazing, but it's certainly more prevalent, but the action sequences are far more dynamic and far better, and they carry a lot more weight to them. There's some pretty brutal fights and some pretty exciting chase scenes that make use of kind of touch and kind of gesture-based gameplay, I suppose you would say. And it just makes for some really, really enthralling sections to the game. But The Wolf Among Us is, its high point is story, and straight off the bat, it's quite adult. And basically, the general story is that you play as Wolf Bigby, a.k.a. the Big Bad Wolf, who is the sheriff of Fabletown. And he's basically a reformed character. He's no longer the big bad wolf. He's a reformed man. He's a nice guy. He just wants to keep law and order. And that's kind of he's almost, you get the feeling that he's almost been forced into this in order to earn his place in Fabletown, because he's not really got a lot of friends amongst the Fables, which are kind of what these characters refer to each other as a people. The woodsman's still kicking about. The three little pigs still hold a grudge. Everybody else is kind of just frightened of him because he's the big bad wolf. But he's not a wolf anymore walking around. He's got a glamour on him that makes him look like a human, but this glamour almost has turned him into a werewolf because he's kind of got to constantly suppress his wolfy nature to come out. So basically, you're playing as Wolf Bigby, and the game opens where Toad of Wind in the Willows, who's kind of like a Cockney shyster, he calls you from a domestic disturbance where there's somebody beating on a woman upstairs, and you go and basically investigate, and it's actually the woodsman from Little Red Riding Hood beating on a prostitute, and there's this hellacious fight scene where they're just beating the shit out of each other, and what you kind of instantly find out is fables are really hard to kill. You know, like as long as their stories are kind of alive in memory, they're almost invincible. They're very, very difficult to kill, and these guys are just beating the shit out of each other. So, like the woodsman gets an axe stuck in his head. It's really violent. It's very adult. It's like much like The Walking Dead was. It's quite graphic in places, but because it's cartoony, it's almost lessened. But it's still pretty grim in places. But basically, you know, you have this huge fight, and as things kind of emerge, it turns into a murder mystery.
Cool.
And it's like the first murder in Fabletown for decades, because, you know, fables don't kill each other because A, they're quite hard to kill, and second, you know, they're almost a dying species. And you kind of team up with, you as Wolf, you as Bigby, team up with Snow White, who was kind of like the mayor's assistant. You team up with her to investigate this murder and see what's going on. And it's just this really compelling, like, hard-boiled film noir murder mystery where you're the big bad wolf going around questioning these make-believe people.
Do you know that you could not... This sounds like my perfect game. I need to play it
so
now.
much fucking fun, man. Like, it's really good, though, because it just feels like there's this really rich culture or this really rich world behind the Fable name, which is why I'm buying the fucking first couple of volumes of it. I want to find out, but, like... Not everybody obviously looks human. You've got Toad from Wind of the Willows. He is basically like a 4-foot toad walking around in clothes. And one of the first things that like happens in the game is when he calls you, basically you have a go at him for walking around in like almost in public, dressed as he is. He needs to go and buy a glamour from a witch, and he's complaining that, you know, he doesn't earn enough money to get him and his whole family a glamour. And you can like decide to be a hard ass with him and tell him that it's not your fucking problem and he needs to go one or you'll arrest him. Or you can kind of sympathise with him and give him an easier time. And it just feels like, and there's also, you meet one of the three little pigs called Colin. But the three little pigs are in fact pigs who just happen to be able to talk. And through your conversations with him, it kind of is revealed that there's this location called the farm, which is where all the animal fables go because they're not safe to be walking around in New York. They'll like reveal the existence of fables, and it doesn't like visit any of these places. It just talks about them, and it also alludes to something very, very briefly. And I think this is touched on far more in the comics. That there's a reason why these fables are now kind of living in the real world, like almost in hiding. It's almost as if they've been chased out of their like land of legends or wherever they're from. But you never find out why. But maybe you will. This is just the first episode, but it's just there, and it just feels very rich. It feels like you're kind of coming to this world that's existed for a long, long time, and people have different relationships with each other. You get the impression that Bigby's got a bit of a crush, or he's a bit sweet on Snow White, which is why he's inclined to help her out and why you team up with her. You meet with Beauty and the Beast, and it's almost like Beauty is like this kind of stifled housewife, and Beast is this overprotective husband. And you, like, I don't know why. I presume it's maybe again alluded to in the comic books, but it looks like Bigby's got a real bee in his bonnet about Bluebee and the pirate. I don't know why, but he's got like his files out on his desk, and he's like, maybe the murderer was Bluebeard. I'll have to investigate it. And you've never seen Bluebeard. You have no fucking clue why he doesn't like him, but there's obviously some history between them. It even goes so far as to kind of examine almost like there's an underclass of fables, like trolls and goblins that are almost like subhuman, and they're treated as such. There's a kind of a lot going on, but the general just writing's really snappy and really sharp and very enjoyable. The characters are great. I found myself really getting into the characters and really liking them. And there's some real twists and turns, and some of them are pretty damn gruesome, that just have me really, really wanting to play part 2 to the point where I really almost regret buying this when there was only one part out.
What are you playing it on?
I'm playing it on iPad again. It's usually available. It's been available on other formats for a while now, but it's just come out on iPad. I just seem to buy Telltale games on my iPad. I don't know why, but it's definitely worth picking up.
What else is it out on?
PC, Xbox 360, PS3. I think that probably about covers it for now. But
I might have to have a sneaky go on this at some point soon.
Yeah, I'd really recommend it. The thing is, I don't want to give this a rating just off the bat because this is just the first episode. But I would suggest that if you really want more Telltale and you want it now, go out and buy it. But if you can wait till the full package is out, then it might be worth doing so because the wait might be too much. It's not very fun. It's only been 3 days and I'm already clambering for more. And again, one thing I said about when I reviewed Walking Dead 400 Days, which was kind of like the interlude between Walking Dead Season 1 and Walking Dead Season 2, which isn't even out yet, I enjoyed that for what it was, but until I have Season 2 to link it up, I couldn't really put my finger on how good it actually was, if it actually meant anything at all. This doesn't suffer from that problem as much because it's not kind of, it's not almost like a middle, like a link piece. It is the first piece of the puzzle. But I'm going to save my full kind of rundown for when all 5 episodes are finished and we've got a complete game, a complete story arc. But if things are carrying on as they were in the first episode, damn man, this is fucking good stuff. It's awesome. Compelling. It's really compelling. I really want to find out who this fucking murderer is.
I don't know what to play it on. I want to buy it now, but I'll have to buy it on Xbox.
Well, yeah. It depends what you're gonna like. You're gonna have your Xbox a year from now.
Blow my dust off it though. It feels wrong. I want to play Killzone, but I really want to play this.
Well, you might. It might come out on next gen consoles, but I don't know. I would guess possibly not, but it's hard to tell.
I'll buy it again if it does, if it's good.
Yeah, well, it is very, very good. But if you can buy it on PC, even Steam, wait till it's on sale in a Steam sale. Although I would suggest just buy it at full price because Telltale really deserve your money. Really, it's just one thing I just love about Telltale is that they managed to, with The Walking Dead, they managed to create a better drama than a fucking TV show.
Yeah, they did,
and they just need fucking praise for it. They're one of the few people who are generally doing interesting storytelling.
And to me, I'd much rather have a game that tells a good story than that's my primary thing of a game.
Yeah,
well, I don't know, fun maybe, but the storyline is a big part of the fun.
I always like a good story. A game with a good story sticks with me way longer than a game with good gameplay. It's what I reminisce about years down the line, rather than that gun was really fun to fire, or that's what you need in moment to moment. But a good story is what really solidifies a game as being fucking amazing in my eyes. My favorite games of this year have all had very, very good stories, or at least good performances.
Yeah,
by characters in them. And Wolf Among Us is great. It's just. Yeah, it's just going to kill me waiting for the next episode, but it certainly sets it up in a big way. One thing I think that is quite frustrating, not so much for me because I've only literally just played it, but people who bought it when it first came out, they were promised, or at least advised, that the episode 2 would have been out by now. But now Telltale are coming out saying, we'll have an announcement of when the next episode will be out in January.
Right, so it's not coming out in January.
It's not necessarily coming out in January, but we'll find out if it is or not, or when it's coming out. But I think what else is pissing people off is that they've kind of delayed this by several months. And then in the meantime, they've announced that Walking Dead Season 2 starting, which is rumoured to be later this month. You've got fucking Game of Thrones is now being announced, which I couldn't be more excited about. So you've got Game of Thrones announced now, which in the official HBO press release has actually been revealed to be a multiple game, multiple year deal. So we could be seeing multiple Game of Thrones seasons,
Yeah.
which is good news. And they've also announced Tales from the Borderlands, which is a Borderlands spin-off. And it looks like it's going to be set with featuring primarily at least 2 new characters, likely before Borderlands 2, because it looks like Handsome Jack's in it. Because you couldn't have a fucking story-driven Borderlands game without Handsome Jack.
He's the man.
He is the best character. So they've got a lot on the plate, and I think that's just kind of made people even more bitter than the second episode's been delayed. And I don't want to give anything away because it is a bit of an emotional roller coaster. The first episode, it starts off really strong, but it does end in a cliffhanger.
Cool.
Or at least, not so much even a cliffhanger might be the wrong word, but at least ends in a revelation of something pretty earth-shattering.
Cool.
And it's just damn, man.
I'm gonna put my Xbox into standby mode and download it tonight.
I think you can put it in standby mode, can you? That's, if only you could.
Standby mode on the 360 is just where you turn your monitor off.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I'm sure there's a setting you can tell it to turn off once it finishes downloading, but fuck knows if I know where that is.
I'm going to try and download it so I can play it on tomorrow night. I'm very excited about this. This sounds awesome. Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, go and play it. I fully recommend it, but don't come front to me if you can't stand the wait.
Bigby!
There's still a lot of questions.
Should have walked out of here when you had the chance.